Hi everybody, this is the baseball head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, and welcome back to the baseball head 2, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. So you're going to see some managers leaving teams or getting fired. One big manager that is out with the Marlins is Skip Schumacher. He was officially announced on Sunday that he was leaving the Marlins because he was a free agent, and the team is basically just ripped the whole club apart, and they've had a lot of injuries this past year. And he will be getting a lot of offers from a lot of teams. The big offer will probably come from the Reds. He's going to have a little competition there with David Ross. David Ross, hopefully he's gotten that knife out of his back that Craig Counsell gave him last offseason, and finds his way back as a manager because he did a good job there in Chicago. But this one, MLB Trade Room says he will not return as Marlins manager. On the 28th, it was reported that Schumacher will not return as Miami's manager in 2025. According to Jeff Passan of ESPN, who might be going over to the NBA, it is not Schumacher, but Passan. His tenure with the Fish concludes after 2 seasons. The Marlins announced during Friday night's win over the Blue Jays that Schumacher would return home to attend a family health matter. Bench coach Luis Urieta will be the interim manager for the final 2 games of the season, according to Isaac Ozot of Fish on First. Bazan writes that Schumacher informed Miami players that he would not be back next season after tonight's game. Interesting. That couldn't have come as much of a surprise to anyone on the roster. Schumacher has seemingly been on his way out of South Florida for months. Former general manager Kim Nang hired him, who'd been the bench coach in St. Louis, to replace Don Mattingly going into the 2023 season. He initially signed a 2-year deal with a club option of $25. Once the Marlins and Nang parted ways last offseason, Schumacher reportedly expressed frustration with the organization's direction. The Marlins agreed to avoid the $25 option as a result, giving the 44-year-old the chance to pursue other opportunities after this season. The front office's overhaul came within weeks of Miami surprisingly punching their ticket to the postseason. The Fish overcame a negative run differential to win 84 games and snag a wildcard spot in 2023. While they were swept by the Phillies in the first round, the unexpected postseason berth earned Schumacher the National Manager of the Year award in his debut season. It was the team's first playoff appearance in a 162-game season since the 2003 World Series title. Owner Bruce Sherman was nevertheless dissatisfied with the organization's recent misses in the draft and some ill-fated free agent moves. Avisail Garcia and Gene Segura, they have done nothing but draft pitchers. The Marlins. The Marlins have done nothing but draft pitcher after pitcher after pitcher, and they have no depth in terms of their position players in their minor league system. Sherman tapped former Rays general manager Peter Bendix as president of baseball operations, a move that would have relegated Nang to second in the front office hierarchy. After Sherman informed Nang of his plans to hire a baseball ops president, she declined her end of a mutual option and moved on. Bendix never seemed confident that the Marlins could replicate last year's success. The Fish had a quiet winter. Their only MLB free agent signing was a $5 million rebound flyer on Tim Anderson, and second seemed ticketed for another rebuild. A disastrous 0-9 start sealed their fate within the first 2 weeks. Miami then traded Luis Arias in early May and followed up with a major deadline sell-off. I would mention about Arias. He has now won his 3rd batting title for his 3rd team. It's very strange the articles being written about him and his great accomplishment. It's such an odd accomplishment that they say, Arias prevented Shohei Ohtani from getting the Triple Crown. The way they wrote it. People should be talking about Arias being on 3 different teams and winning 3 different batting titles, and 3 different circumstances too, by the way. Chaz Chisholm Jr., Trevor Rogers, Josh Bell, and Brian De La Cruz were all traded at the deadline. Were it not for a devastating series of rotation injuries, they'd likely have torn things down further. Jesus Luzardo and Braxton Garrett would have been clear trade candidates if healthy. Bendix's skepticism about the short-term outlook has been borne out of in this year's results. The Fish lost 100 games for the 4th time in franchise history, though either finished with the 2nd or 3rd worst record in MLB. At the same time, it's It's entirely unsurprising that Schumacher preferred not to embark on a multi-year rebuild orchestrated by a new front office just months after leading the team to the playoffs. There should be plenty of interest in Schumacher's services. His aggregate 144-178 record wasn't good, but that's far more testament to this year's roster than an indictment of his managerial ability. His work in 23 earned ample praise. The White Sox and Reds have managerial vacancies yet to find Pedro Grifol and David Bell, respectively. Schumacher has been loosely linked to both jobs before his contract with the Marlins had expired. Darrell Van Schoenwen of the Chicago Sun-Times wrote a few weeks ago that he was among the Sox's top targets. Gordon Windmeyer of the Cincinnati Enquirer reported on Friday that Schumacher and former Cubs skipper David Ross are among the preliminary options under consideration for the Reds front office. It's possible other jobs will open once the regular season concludes. We haven't heard anything today so far on Monday, but I'm sure there's going to be managers going to get the boot and get sent off to the Phantom Zone by their respective teams. In Miami, Bendix begins his first managerial search as a baseball operations leader. The front office has presumably been preparing for a while, as they were no doubt aware of the possibility that Schumacher would depart. It's the next opportunity for Bendix and his group to put their stamp on the franchise as they go into another rebuilding year. Yeah, so Schumacher will have plenty of teams on him. Every team that needs a manager will be in on him. Now, if I were him, I wouldn't go to the White Sox. And David Ross shouldn't go to the White Sox either. If they can't get another job, you go there. But if I were those guys, I would try to go to the Reds, because the Reds have a lot of talent. They need a manager who knows what he's doing. And both guys have shown that they can manage a good team, and they've done a good job in the past. David Ross basically was stabbed in the back last year by Craig Counsell. And of course, the Cubs sort of pulled the rug under him. He should look to see if he can get that Reds job. Same thing with Schumacher. Here's the thing about Schumacher and the Marlins. They had Sandy Alcantara, the former Cy Young Award winner, blew his arm out, before last season was over. So once that happened, you knew that they were going to break that team up. And that's why Ken Nang left too. She knew that the writing was on the wall, that they weren't going to build a winning team for this year. But if I would either one of these guys, you're better off going to Cincinnati. They have a chance. They have a lot of talent there, up and down that roster and up and down that farm system. So the White Sox are many years away. I was thinking about this and how bad the White Sox are in comparison to the 1962 Mets. The 1962 Mets had two future Hall of Famers on that club, and Gil Hodges and then Richie Ashburn. This White Sox team does not have that. I don't know, and the players that they traded, in particular Eloy Jimenez, who was traded to the Orioles, was sent down to the minor leagues this past week by the Orioles. So they've not been very good. And now there are players that they brought in for Dylan Cease, but we'll see how they are. But the fact that they lost 121 games this year, they got a lot of work to do. And that a complete total collapse of an organization. About as bad of a collapse as you could possibly get. It's not like starting at the bottom like the 62 Mets, starting at the bottom and going up. This team was a total disaster. I don't think they had one winning streak, other than maybe this past week they had a couple wins in a row. They were so bad from the very beginning. I would mention again about the 62 Mets. They started that, even though they lost 120 games that year and lost the first 8 games of that season, at one point they were 12-19. And like I said, they had two future Hall of Famers on their team. They had the original Frank Thomas on their team. They had a lot of players that were named players, but they were old. This young team in Chicago, no names, and other than Louis Robert Jr. and Crochet, those guys are not Hall of Famers, in my opinion, right now. So those guys are at the beginning of their career, and they're bad. There's nothing worse than being a young team and being bad. But you can improve with the right people in place and talent. But you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, please subscribe to Baseball Hut 2, and I'll see you later.